starting yet.
Because I told this nigga like 7 minutes ago. Let's go.
Yes, is the Cast Worthy Podcast, and we are back. I am Big Steve, aka Last of a Dying Breed, on the Twitter machine, joined by the one and only EJ, the sophisticated savage, fresh off vacation, and the VP of research, fresh off of heartbreak last night.
Big time. Big time.
Yes.
Let's talk about it, man.
Go Bills, go Bills. It's 9:00. Ain't the World Cup kicking off soon? It's like
It's on right now.
Is it on?
It's on right now.
It's on right now.
Francois and who?
It's like Montenegro or something like that.
Argentina.
Argentina. Messi versus Mbappe.
Okay. I might have to clip that on a little bit too. Maybe throw a bet in.
It's gonna go to PKs. You heard it here first.
Think so.
Yeah. No. So.
December 18th, Sunday, beautiful day in the neighborhood. Slightly chilled down here in Florida. Snow all over the place in this world. We're finally gonna get a cold Christmas in Florida. I'm excited about that.
What is cold?
I mean, in comparison to what we've been getting, but we're talking about 50s.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Man, we talking about bubble sweater weather.
All right, relax. Bubble sweater. Then tells you he's from Miami or Jamaica.
That's funny.
What's up, man? Y'all had a good week.
Man, listen, the mosquitoes and that tropical weather, I am feeling the brunt of that shit right now. That shit is ridiculous. All the science we got in off spray does not work.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, man. Like I've been seeing for a while that they actually have genetically bred mosquitoes that they've kind of created in a lab. They just haven't released them yet. That essentially they'll do everything that mosquitoes do, but they won't reproduce. Basically, they're sterile, basically. And one of the things that they're worried about is that the impacts on the environment down the road if they were to do that. Because I mean, every animal, insect, or whatever serves a purpose. You know what I mean? So
except for Trump.
So you start getting rid of mosquitoes, and it's good at first. It's like, oh shit, I can go outside and not getting bit. And then all of a sudden, this one animal that eats mosquitoes or some shit starts dying off, and then that causes something that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Or they start eating shit they don't normally eat.
Yeah, so that's kind of the concern. That's why they haven't done it yet to release them. Is it like environmental collapse?
Yeah, bats being a prime example. Bats love mosquitoes.
Yeah, like bats. A single bat could eat like 1,000 mosquitoes a night.
How come they don't let bats go in Africa?
Well, they do let them. I mean, not that they don't let them go.
They're wild.
Tons of bats, but
they need to breed bats and put them down there, get rid of the mosquitoes, or Panama, so EJ don't have
they were flying around
elephantitis a week after vacation.
they were flying around that night, but because of the lights and people, they weren't really flying low enough. So, but getting destroyed. Jesus Christ, it's bad.
So now that you don't have your missus in front of you, EJ, was there some bitches out there? Let me take that back. Were there some beautiful, fine young Panamanian women out there?
It definitely was a sight. But the thing about that country is hard to tell where they actually are from, because you're literally in the beginning of South America. Like, part of Panama is in Central America, a large part of it, and then when you go to the city towards the canal, you actually can cross over into technically South America, which I didn't know until this trip. But their airport hit so many places: Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, Costa Rica. You never really know where these people are from. So, but yeah, it was cool. I didn't really see the city like I wanted to. But it was decent, man. I tell you one thing though. I'm never getting on a jet ski again in rough waters. My
Mm.
nut sack, I thought I was gonna die. The first wave I hit, ran up like 5 feet in the air, holding on to the jet ski, and came right down on my nutsack. I almost died. I almost died.
I could have probably gone the rest of my life without hearing you say my nutsack twice in one sentence.
You said worse on here, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that jet ski thing, man. It's shit is serious, man. I remember we went to Mexico on a cruise, and I went jet skiing, and I was trying to do the little joint where like you be speed on the jet ski and you kind of whip it, make it, like slide to the left or the right or whatever. Flew right off that bitch. So and getting on those jet skis in deep water ain't as easy as that shit look on TV. So
Bruh. And the thing about the water that we were jet skiing in, so they on the beach side, right? They take you from the scuba spot, and then there's like an island, like a little island way out there. It looks like probably could have been like 60 mile. I don't know how. It took us at least 30 minutes to get there. But the waves were so rough. And I was like, man, this shit cannot be what it's supposed to be. And needless to say, my body was hurt for days after because I was trying to hold on to dear life. So I think next time I go on the jet ski, I'm gonna make sure it's some calm waters because that was my first time. It was raining, it was rough. Even the boat that was following us from the spot was like they had to slow down because the waves were so rough. So
yeah, I was gonna say, or just slow down a little bit.
Well, slowing down made it worse actually, because the faster I went, the easier I was able to chop through. But if it was a real big wave, I was like 5-6 feet in the air, which is pretty scary on your first ride.
when we went to Jamaica, man, me and my brother went horseback riding, but we were like, where Dunes Rivers Falls is, Steve.
Yeah.
So like we went there first.
Ocho Rios.
And we wanted to go horseback riding, so we had to jump on jet skis to like go over to where the horseback riding was. And so when you go, at that point they don't let you drive the jet skis because it's like a bunch of coral reef and shit. Mm-hmm. And so they know the path. So it's basically like you on a jet ski with another person or whatever, with the dude. And this dude is like whipping that shit through the coral reef like it's nothing. And I'm holding on to this dude for like dear life. And he's like, ease up, man. And I'm thinking like, nah, if I fall in this coral reef, I'm going to fucking die. I'm going to have my damn lungs punctured or something. You know what I mean? Like, hell no, I ain't easing up. You're holding on too tight, man. I'm like, fuck that. You're like, you about to kill me.
Oh, shit.
You had your arms wrapped around them?
Hell yeah. You goddamn right.
Dude. Yeah, I'm due for a vacation, man. I'm thinking
you just went on one.
Right. Didn't you just come back from like Tennessee or some shit?
Hawaii.
Tennessee was
and Hawaii.
That was August. It's December.
Oh man.
You only do one vacation a year? Man, listen. Life's too short for that. Too precious.
True.
We old, man. 40s.
I hear you. I just told my brother some shit like that. He was like, he actually just got back from Jamaica, and
I go to Jamaica a lot. Something y'all want to tell us?
Mm-hmm.
And he got invited to the Bucks Bengals game today, and he was like, "Man, I don't know if I'm gonna go." He's like, "I got all the shit I got to get ready for work this week because I'm going on vacation." Blah blah. And I was like, "Dude, like nobody ever got to the end of their life and think like, man, I wish I just worked more." You start thinking about memories and shit like that, And I was like, so go to the game. And he was like, nah, I'm just tired from all the traveling I've been doing or whatever. I was like, if you're tired from traveling, cool, but don't not go just because double negative there. But don't do it just because you're thinking about, oh, I got this work shit I got to do, on fucking Sunday.
Right. Exactly. Because if you don't make it, they're gonna replace you, and someone else gonna get that work done.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's the way that goes.
Yeah, right.
Let me ask you gentlemen a question. I was driving. I was just thinking about, you get older, you start thinking nostalgic, you hear some old school music, you hear something that reminds you of, your teenage years or something. If all the women
Oh,
that
God.
if all the women that you ever spit game to, like I'm talking game, not like oh what's up in the bar type shit. I'm talking about like you knew them, whether it was in school, you got them on the phone, you got them on the jack somehow, whatever. If you lined them all up and on a scale of 1 to 10, they asked how good or bad your game was, what you think your average number would be?
You said 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I definitely would be sub 5. I was terrible at it. Can't lie.
This nigga married his high school sweetheart. I mean,
That's true.
couldn't have been doing too much out here.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't have a lot of practice, so
That nigga was like, Aaron to kill me even back then. I'd probably say 8, and I would say that was also my problem, that I was too good and eventually got abused in many ways.
Like this would even be like the ones that you lost, like you didn't get to like move on with, you didn't create a relationship, physical or long term. Like, you think you have any that you got? I mean, you said 8, so that sounds like to me you got some that you probably was like that. If we asked them, they probably was like, I was so close, I had to stop myself. He almost got me with his game.
I've fumbled the bag plenty of times, man. But you come to that point in time where you think about it, you look back, and you get to see them online now with kids and all of that kind of stuff, and you kind of just like wasn't meant to be.
Dodge that shit like the Matrix.
Yeah,
I didn't know she was Fertile Myrtle.
yeah, and a lot of chicks I went to high school with. I mean, just thinking about high school specifically, they got older men. Like, I'm talking about close to 50s. So I'm like, damn, there's a lot of daddy complexes going on.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have been able to measure up to that.
No, I said so they're like a reverse you.
Oh yeah, guess so. To some degree, yeah. Now that you say that, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I would say I'm Dylon. I spit hot fire.
Top 5.
I spit hot fire. Listen, that was always my thing. Like when I was younger, like just I'd be like, yo, let me get her on the phone. Find a way to get her on the phone. Finding a way to get her to if I get on the phone after like 7:30, like 8 o'clock, we probably gonna be on there till 3-4 in the morning. Like just you hang up. No. Like, that was the highlight of my career. I wouldn't say that I cashed in on a lot of those on those tickets, right? But definitely had a lot of scratch offs.
But I mean, back then it wasn't, the mission, while it was one thing, that wasn't always the most realistic mission. We still grew up in an era where you had, there was sex and there was sexual acts going on, but it isn't like when you're older and the mission is definitely that and only that. When you're younger, most times it was just to talk, to have the pictures, to do the little things here and there. But when you juxtapose that societally to what you see nowadays, I mean, geez, like, how do you have any? I mean, it looks like it seems like today, like it's almost like how the 70s were. It might have been, it's just so much free spirited sex everywhere. It's just it's crazy. Like, people forgot about STDs out here these days.
Yeah. You're right. I'm pretty thankful every day that I don't have a daughter, because where we are today in 2022, going into 2023, not saying that it's inevitable that something can happen, but I know the job is even harder as a father today because they have the what do they call that? Slut shaming. Oh, don't slut shame me. If I want to be a slut, I can be a slut. Like back in the day, it was bad to be a slut or a hoe, or you know what I mean. Like if you got called a hoe, slut, you dress provocatively, titties out and shit like that. It was frowned upon. Now that's the thing, and so I guess it definitely makes it a lot more challenging. And the whole body count. Like back then, body count, nobody wanted to talk about body count when it came to females, you know. And now, right, because we're so progressive as a society, don't ask your body count. You shouldn't care about your body count. Same like we just talked about vacations. Go die.
I mean,
Well,
I
no, just real quickly, worse than that, I've seen posts on IG speaking of what Steve is talking about, and girls have been interviewed, and girls will actually interview a guy and say, "What's my body count?" And he'll be like 10, 15. Granted, this was a different culture of people, if you know what I mean. But she was like 15, more like 30, 40. It's low. Like
It's a wild college night.
I mean, so so what Steve said about like the young girls or whatever, like that's it definitely makes you kind of glad to not have it. Like you watch that show Euphoria, and I get it's a fictionalized show, but all fiction is based on some reality, right? And it's like these girls got the body shaming and trying to look like shit they see on TV. All these ads being thrown at them, telling them they don't look good. All this kind of stuff like that. You know what I mean? And then they got to worry about you got to worry about shit with like sending nudes and all that kind of shit like that, man. So it's crazy out there for these young girls. In reference to the body count thing, I don't think the reason why I don't think body count thing matters is that, one, if a chick's been with a lot of dudes, like it doesn't mean anything. It's not like the pussy gets worn out or something. It's like, oh man, like the thing is it's past it's gone over his mileage or some shit like that. It's not like a fucking car where like once you got so many miles on it doesn't operate
again, buddy,
correctly.
Again, buddy, you married your high school sweetheart. Speak for yourself, buddy.
But not only that though, but I mean I think that the body count thing puts like an unfair it kind of puts like this unfair like qualification on women or whatever, because it's like people, it's not like back in the day when people used to not have sex until they were married, right? People have sex premarital and stuff like that. And to EJ's point, I married my high school sweetheart, right? But there are plenty of men and women out there who don't get married until their 30s. You know what I mean? And these people are in relationships where they're sexually active, where this chick may date a guy for 6 months and they're having sex. They break up, and then maybe she needs a rebound. She meets the EJ type at the club. Boom, one night stand. Then she dates somebody else for a year. You know what I mean? They're having sex. They break up.
Bumps back into EJ.
Right, one or two more EJ types for rebounds. You see, and if this is happening just throughout her 20s, before she gets into her 30s and meets somebody serious that she marries, this chick could have had sex with 15, 20 men if she keeps having these short relationships. And then, you understand what I'm saying? Or maybe not even a rebound. Maybe it's one of those things where she's like, yo, I need some wood. Let me go on Tinder. Boom. You know what I mean? And so it's crazy to have that expectation for women, but not for men.
Well, I was going to say the body count thing has always been a double standard, because men.
That's what I was trying to say, double standard.
It's always been a double standard in our community, I would say, to men, because anything that we said, we always got judged and were being dogs. So it's like if you had a certain amount, you was crushing a certain amount, you look nasty, you look like a dog. Women shunned that at some point, and the rule of thumb for women was that they never really told the truth about how many they had anyway. But it's just I think Steve was being Steve, but I think to the point he was saying about the progressiveness of the society is that today people, man or woman, are just, they don't care, like one way or the other. You know what I mean? Like, because I remember at one point lying to be like, I ain't really done that much. you know.
Yeah.
And then also think about this, right? Especially like knowing that we live in a society where you're not the first time that you sleep with a woman and the first time this woman sleeps with you is not going to be on your wedding night, right? And so think about what you know now, um um given your history, with being sexually active or whatever, and how that helps when you meet a young lady and you take that step. You know what I'm saying? Or for in case in
so
EJ
you,
case,
so you
a
saying
grandma or
test?
something like that. You know what I mean?
Oh wow. You saying take the test drive before you buy the car.
Well, not just the
Practice.
test drive, but
Practice
I'm
makes
just
perfect.
yeah, practice makes perfect, right? Because you get in there like imagine like think about this from a dude standpoint, right? Not a woman, right? This dude is going
Mostly
to have
everything I think about is from a dude's
what
standpoint.
obviously, but I'm just, but I mean specifically this thing here, right? This
Okay.
guy is going to he's going to be sexually active with this woman, right? This is going to be the first time, and when he gets in there, either one, he's not going to know what to do, or the other option is everything he's going to do is shit that he saw in porn, and chicks don't like that shit that you see in porn. You know what I
That's
mean?
that's true. Some of
It's
them do.
it's
Some of
right,
them do.
it kind of reminds me of this show I saw on HBO. It's one of the mini series.
He's never been with a white woman.
And on the show, like the kid, he's like doing all this shit to these girls. He's like smashing chicks in high school or whatever, no problem. He gets to college and he hooks up with this chick, and he starts doing all this shit he sees in porn. But he's a freshman and she's like a junior, and like she's looking like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? Or whatever, you know what I mean? But he don't get it because he's thinking like chicks love this shit.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, most cases, if it's the first time with someone anyway, it's going to be like you don't know what you're doing anyway because everybody's different. Everybody,
I was gonna say the same thing.
some people don't like oral sex as great as it may be to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Some people want you to uh, stir the mashed potatoes, and others don't.
you
Like
know,
it just depends who you talk to.
to your first point, I'm just gonna say this, and I know I'm a pretty liberal guy. This may shock the audience, but we may need to round those people up and study them so they don't infect the rest of the population. Just gonna leave it there.
But I mean, yeah. So we live in a day today where people lie regularly. When you talk about the body count, so is it really real anyway? We live in the slut shaming. I mean, prime example, Meg Thee Stallion. That case is all over TV right now. All the way leading up to the case, she's like, "Nope, I ain't do nothing with Tori, not at all. Nope. We wasn't doing nothing. We wasn't sleeping together. Wasn't nothing. First day of trial. Oh yeah, we was intimate. Actually, it wasn't even her lawyer. Oh yeah, they were intimate. Yeah, they were intimate. Tori
That
slept with
shit,
her and her best friend.
that shit hit different in a court of law when you got that perjury behind it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
that, like you look at your boy Donnie T, right? Social media, TV, like I declassified all those documents. They go to court. Well, I mean, we're just saying executive privilege here. We don't want to get into the declassification thing at this point.
Right. But we on our pod at some point I think we took the stance that we typically always take, the if then statement kind of thing. And I think the feel was, if Tory did this, then he's a piece of shit kind of thing. I don't know if we went any further, any harder on him, but I mean, at this
Pause.
point, at this point in time, I mean, Meg, man, sheesh, it's looking real nasty over there. It's a lot of allegations coming out, a lot of evidence coming out, and I mean, to Tory Lanez, I never really listened to his music that much past one song, but to his credit or defense, I guess, he's maintained from the beginning that he didn't do this, and no gunshot residue, no GSR on him. I mean, what is going on here, man? What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, we did say it, but when it came out, you're going. We it was the one time where we were very Vari like, VP like, where we were like, we got to trust women, right? We got to give women the benefit of the doubt. And we did that, right? And we assumed, there's no way Meg is gonna make this up. There's no way you're gonna lie and say, yo, this dude, shot me. Now, I always thought there was some, a little bit of exaggeration to the dance, bitch. Like I thought she was watching Harlem Nights for a little bit, but so we kind of did that, and we were just basically, we said, Tori, any man, if you don't do that to a woman, it's the same as domestic violence or domestic abuse, right? And so you're a piece of shit and you're a scumbag, right? And you would be canceled. Um, Fast forward though, now we're kind of seeing like this dude's telling us like, nah, this ain't what happened. There's a lot to it, basically. So ultimately, what's coming out is, for those who don't know, who've been under a rock and maybe you're still catching up, Meg Thee Stallion, Tory Lanez, and I forget Kelsey, I think is her best friend. They went to a party at Kylie Jenner's house, year ago, a little bit more than that. Pool party. At the time, Meg and Tory were alleged to be in a relationship, and they were all pretty drunk, uh, intoxicated, and some of the stories say that Kylie started to get a little bit interested or a little flirty with Tory, and Meg didn't like that. She got belligerent. Her team said, "Hey, it's time for y'all to go. You got to go." And Megan Stallion ended up getting shot. She says, Tory Lane shot me that night. Blah 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 blah. So now what we're hearing, some of the story that we're hearing is, Meg basically turned to her and said to him and said, "Yo, your music's garbage," and he pulled out the gun. They got out. He said, "Dance, bitch," and started shooting at the ground. There was some ricochet. She gets shot. Right. The problem is, to your point, EJ, the gun residue. There was a little bit of gun residue on Tory Lanez, but the bulk of it was on Kelsey, which is her best friend, which Tory Lanez was sleeping with, which Meg was beefing with, and many people thought Kelsey was the one that shot Meg anyway. I think it's just gonna,
like plead the fifth or something too.
yeah,
and
and
yeah.
so she gets on the stand, the best friend. She pleads the fifth. Meg's people get on the stand. They're like, "Oh yeah, they were sleeping together." And Tory's people, I'm waiting. I haven't had a chance to catch up if it already happened, but I'm waiting for them because they seem to actually be doing the most to create doubt, right? Because that's all you got to do. For them, they don't have to prove innocence. They just got to make people say, this is probably 99% true, but that 1% that ain't true is the doubt that they have, and he gets off. So his team has been putting out a lot and saying a lot and doing a lot, and I'm very interested in seeing what they have to say. But it's just nasty work right now. Like this chick, I get it, she was on her way up in stardom, but instead, if it's that bad, just say nothing, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Deal with it, go to the hospital, deal with it. But now you're taking them to court, you're trying to press charges, all of this is going on.
Interviews.
And yeah, and it's gonna ruin one of your careers, and probably hers more than his. He took the hit. He lost his deals. You know what I mean? So from here, it can't get much worse if he loses, besides the fact that he could potentially do jail time or something like that. But if he wins, wins this case, he gets to bounce back. And for her, that fall is going to be from the sky to the ground, because she was in a freaking She-Hulk. You know what I'm saying? Like, she has much more to lose than him. So realistically, she probably should have just, if she knew that it didn't happen, if it was Kelsey, she should either just told the truth or just let it go and said absolutely nothing. And let it rock. But this can be very, very damaging to her career and her credibility if it comes out that all of this stuff was made up.
And to VP's constant point, when it comes to these situations, and he's always said it best, the victims deserve to be heard, but believed is another thing, right? And if this is in fact a falsehood and a ruse and another Jesse Smollett situation, once again you devalue the experience or the ability that other people that actually suffer have to report these kinds of things. And, I mean, unfortunately, man, I can't fathom it. I despise it. But I see so many of these cases on a regular basis. Um, and it just, something like this, if it is in fact what it looks like it could be, it's pretty nasty. And that you've done this, what is your intent? Maybe was it for attention, for sales? I don't know, man, but it'll be pretty bad if that is in fact the case and that this guy had to suffer through this.
Nah, absolutely, man. And to Steve's point, it does hurt the next person, who may have something like this happen to them, right? But EJ says it all the time. We're fickle people. I don't think that it hurts her credibility. I mean, she might look bad in the press for a little bit, but she drops the next wet ass pussy video, and everything's forgotten about at that point, right? But when the next person comes along and says this thing happened to me, you're gonna have people saying, "I remember Megan Thee Stallion." I don't know, and evidence be damned. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing that always makes it worse, is that a lot of times the person who suffers is not the person who allegedly lied or misstated, whatever you want to call it. It's that next person who we haven't heard of yet.
Yeah, I feel like it's nasty work. We always talk about we can't talk about, oh, black women should protect black men and black men should protect black women. Like, here's an opportunity where you could just, whatever happened, we don't, and we'll never know. Like, there's gonna be his story, there's gonna be her story, there's gonna be what we heard in the courtroom, and then there's gonna be the truth. Like, I don't think there's ever gonna be any truth that came out. um but as people, right, whoever's involved, like, you got to understand the risk that's involved here. I mean, specifically for, more so for Tory than anybody. Even just that night, if we go back to that night, he's a black man, right? You're calling whoever, the police are showing up to somewhere where allegedly a gun was fired and a black man has a gun. You've put him now in a situation where, forget about his career, he could lose his life, because they don't ask questions. They shoot first. That's the way it goes when it's us. So, it's just that's the piece that I don't think people are thinking about. They're thinking more along the lines of, oh, she ruined his career and blah 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 blah. She could have put him in a real situation where he could have lost his life.
And not only that,
go ahead.
Not only that, and EJ probably can speak more specifically to what I'm about to say, is that even, like, let's fast forward.
His network drop, maybe.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah.
What was you gonna say?
Even to that point, personally, that for me, I've seen that happen to people. More recently with friends, and to me, when it escalates to that level, when you put me in a corner to that space, where it's even remotely like that, and I've been in those type of situations, and I've always counseled dudes, leave. You know what I'm saying? Exit stage left. Don't let it get there. You call the police if you need to, which isn't beneficial either, because they come in and who knows what kind of information they have. But yeah, it's one of those things, like you said, and we as black men are a threat to the authorities, and when it escalates to that level, it's always scary, and people, black men are the first to be dehumanized, and probably the only ones on the planet to be dehumanized, more so than others. And when the cops come, they don't see somebody's son, brother, uncle, cousin. They see a threat. And so you have these moments where you're just frivolously using the authorities and for potentially nothing. And like you said, it could have ended in bloodshed. So
yeah. I'm interested to see where this case goes. Continue to follow it. The other piece to talk about is the bodyguard, Meg's bodyguard, has disappeared. So he was supposed to show up to take the stand Thursday or Friday, and he disappeared. So that's another question. People are kind of, they say they're out, they're looking for him, they're trying to locate this guy so that he can give his side. But yeah, I mean, it's turning into like some crazy spectacle. Like it's almost like celebrities. You think about the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard shit. See what I did there?
Yeah, bars.
And now you throw this in there, and they're turning them into it's turning into TV shows. It's turning into fucking
Telenovela.
yeah. Like you could have easily prevented this. You could have easily found some way to try and settle this, keep it on a lower scale or some sort. Like and from whatever the standpoint is, and again, we don't know the truth. And we don't know what's going to happen. But I think even if he ends up getting convicted of this, the holes in the stories that we've seen just from day one, and day two of being in court, it's going to make it questionable anyway. And then she says, "Oh well, I lied to the cops that night because that's what we do in our culture." Bitch, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh no, I didn't. I didn't tell him. I didn't tell him the truth because that's then I would be called a snitch. Well, what are we doing? Like, why are we here?
Right. Ultimately, why are we here? Yeah. Watch the space.
Yeah, man.
Watch the space.
Watch the space. What else you got going on the topic list, EJ?
Man, don't want to get into a somber thing, but let's go. Well, you know what? Let's briefly talk about Deion Sanders. I'm gonna just briefly touch on this as a resident pro-black HBCU person. So this weekend, quickly, was the Celebration Bowl, which for the last 7 seasons has been basically the championship game for the 2 remaining HBCU conferences, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference and the Southwestern Athletic Conference, known as the MEAC and the SWAC. The MEAC is currently up 6-1 after this past game, and Deion lost his bowl game. Man, lost his bowl game versus North Carolina Central. Shout out to them, as I'm a MEAC supporter, MEAC former athlete. But
He
Deion
coached in the
lost,
game.
huh?
He coached.
Yeah, Deion was there. He coached. He was on the sideline.
Mm.
Both his sons played. And man, I tell you one thing too: to fix the referees were cheating their asses off for Deion. I mean, the shit was just nasty. Shout out to, I think that's Jay Wright, who was a quarterback at Howard and actually in the Maryland political delegation as a representative for PG County. He does all of the black HBCU games for ESPN and others, and he was just on there like he was like, wow, what is going on with the referees, but Deion lost his bowl game, leaving the black school, going into Colorado. I'm pretty sure he did not want to go there with a loss. He's 0-2 in bowl games. So just wanted to bring that up real brief. Nothing too much on that, but yeah.
Deion did he there's a speech online that his last speech in front of the team before the bowl game, and he was extremely emotional, crying, and all of that fun stuff. But it seemed genuine, and I feel like Deion he's going to continue to have a space in his heart for that organization and for that program. Obviously it's going to be a catapult for him. From here, we don't know where he's going to go, but I guess it just, whatever side of the fence that you're on, it's good to see he did some great stuff there. Even though it's ending a certain way, whether you agree with how it's ending or you don't, we talked about that last week. He did some good stuff, man. He did some good stuff for a good school, for some good people, and he's doing better stuff for people. That I was listening to some other shows and stuff that people made mention to is, over here at Jackson, he couldn't get his staff paid, accordingly, and he brought in some big wigs, and they kind of were getting paid shit. And so in Colorado, a lot of their salaries tripled, some of them doubled, some of them quadrupled, right? So you've made a better life for those people, in addition to the 5 million that he's making. But, he's also taking some of those kids that were going to be at Jackson and bringing them to Colorado. Sure, they were getting high focus, with the media because of him. But now they're going to go to another school. They're going to have different opportunities to learn different things, whatever that might be, right? From that standpoint. And it's just, there's a lot of good in this, and there's still the questionable piece to it. But he put them on the map, and you can't stop somebody from wanting to be better, do better for themselves, their family, their career. And that's kind of how I feel about Deion's situation.
No, I think everything you said is absolutely right, Steve. But everything you also said is making the point in reverse of why people are upset with Deion, because all the stuff that Deion has done for himself, for some of those kids that you talk about, for those coaches, is what people thought he was going to do for the HBCU community, and what he essentially hyped himself up as coming in to do is to put these programs back on the map. These HBCUs have been underfunded; they don't get good recruits, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to put this school back on the map using my celebrity, using my Hall of Fame.
But he did.
Status, et cetera, et cetera. No. Yeah. But now, next year, you'll probably hear about Jackson State because it's the post-Deion year. And then after that, you won't hear anything else about them unless you're somebody that specifically follows HBCUs in the way that EJ does.
Yeah. But you can't expect him to just, not you, but people can't just expect him to just stay there and for the rest of his life he has to be the face of, like, if you're the person that's like, oh, and this is not to EJ, because EJ is one of the people that supported, and many of the people that he associates with are the people that support it. He has people that make merch for HBCUs and stuff like that. But if you're the person that's sitting there behind on your couch and you're like, oh, Deion shouldn't have, blah, 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 and you can turn around and say you ain't done shit for HBCUs except post on fucking social media once every here and there, and now making a fuss, then you're the problem. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get what you're saying, but it's also like, I guess the way that people are looking at it is like, if you're a person who, like me, for example, I call myself a feminist, I support women's rights, et cetera, and then you find out like a year from now that I'm a domestic abuser, and yeah, that's an extreme example, you know what I mean? But
see what you be putting in our chat. They would be like, well, he loves women.
Oh shit. But you know what I mean? And I feel like it has that kind of feel to it, because Deion didn't just come in. Like every coach uses coaching positions as a stepping stone to get, Nick Saban went to LSU and told those kids he was there for them, blah, blah, blah. And he went to the NFL, so the Dolphins call, right?
Jimmy Johnson.
So you have Jimmy Johnson, etc. You have those kind of things that happen. People want to progress in their careers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But Deion didn't come in and just did normal coach speak and then progress in his career. He basically came in like he was on a mission. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about the money. I don't care about this. This is something personal to me because it's HBCUs. I'm a black man. There's a history behind it. And people are like, oh, hell yeah. We got a champion now. You know what I mean? And then he turns right around and like, oh, the money's calling. Deuces.
and that's precisely the angle that somebody like me looks at it, because he was wishy-washy from the beginning. So if you read between the lines, on one hand, he literally said in the interview, I Am Athlete, it ain't about the money because I'm good. It ain't about the prestige. It ain't about none of that. No, I want to do something for this culture, all of this. And then, well, if, this year was, oh, well, if they do come calling, I'm going to listen. And it was the perspective of, you kind of, it's no different than what white companies do when they find out black shit sells. They get on board, they ride the wave, and then they cash out. And we also got to look at it, right, where everybody's kind of talking about it from the perspective that Jackson State HBCU should have been lucky that they had Deion. Well, they are the only other school that really gave him a chance.
Exactly. And so that's what I was going to ask you, Jay. Do you think let me ask both of you guys, and this is a 2-part question. Part one, do you guys think Deion Sanders wants to be a head coach in the NFL one day?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Do you think today, or even prior to Jackson State, or even after Jackson State, Deion Sanders could have gotten a head coaching job in the NFL today?
I don't think he would have
No.
gotten a head coaching job at another university, or else he would have went there. If
I
Florida
think
State would have offered him, why wouldn't he gone home and coached Florida
And,
State?
so. My thing is,
right.
so
And
this is
Deion,
my thing. I think he could have gotten a secondary. He could have been a secondary coach, right? And someone would have picked him up. But I think he's as after getting to Jackson State, he's probably thinking, I want to be a head coach, and I want to go. I want to go to the NFL as a head coach. I don't want to go sit in nobody's locker room and be nobody's assistant. And this is my path to that. And I think that might be where it changed a bit.
But here's the
no,
thing
and
to
I, and
that.
I
Here's the thing to that. And you're absolutely right. But again, one, Jackson State, and I don't know, I can't ignorantly say I could, but I don't know for sure that he didn't get any offers that were either at a better or higher level than Jackson State, but he chose Jackson State because they gave him the opportunity. University of Delaware didn't give him the opportunity. Florida State didn't give him the opportunity. USF didn't give him the opportunity. He went to Jackson State, and what happened with Jackson State, which rarely happens at HBCUs because they don't get that if you do go through your sports and not focus so much on academia, you can get more. And to say that, I preface that to say that HBCUs, because of the lack of funding, because of always being compared to these universities, they've always taken this cultural stance that academics comes first. We don't worry about sports. We don't do that. What Deion did, he did show them that if you invest in your athletics in your program and you don't shun this and you don't make it like the black sheep, you can get other things, right? But again, Jackson State gave him carte blanche in a way that no other coach in recent years in the HBCUs has ever gotten. Even when Eddie Robinson was successful, Eddie Robinson didn't even want to leave Grambling simply because he still wanted to teach at Grambling. He got offered an NFL position. People were like, "Oh, he didn't get any offers." I was like, "You sound stupid." He was one of the winningest coaches in NCAA history. He may not have gotten a Power 5 offer, but he could have went anywhere. And the NFL came calling for Eddie Robinson. He said, "You know what? I'm staying because I want to teach." But Deion probably is the most polarizing coach in HBCU culture, second to Eddie Robinson, and in some eyes, maybe more, because a lot of people didn't know Eddie Robinson. So when you look at that and what Deion's aspirations was, to what you're alluding to, Steve, would he have even ever gotten the Colorado look if HBCU culture, black people didn't get behind him? Because even though we don't make up so much of the population, but the driving force and power we have, would he even have gotten a look from Colorado if he didn't go to Jackson State? If all of the HBCU, all of the black successful graduates from these universities got behind him and catapulted him, and ultimately Colorado can look and say, well, if he did that with Jackson, we got some money, we could do 20 times more what he did there with less. You know what I'm saying? So it's a two-way street. And if you're somebody from that culture, you got to be looking like, damn, bro, you could at least gave us 2 more years to make sure, we straight. But, we live in a capitalistic society and people got free right to do them and elevate. We get it. But you sold us a dream.
Yeah, I mean, I think y'all both are right. You know what I mean? I think I was gonna say Dion. I think he wanted to be a head coach, and he didn't want to go the traditional path. I'm gonna start off as a DB's coach, and then maybe I'll become a coordinator, and then get a head coaching gig somewhere. 10 years later or whatever. I need to be a head coach from the jump. And then to EJ's point, it's very likely nobody was saying we're gonna hire you as our head coach off the street with no experience. That doesn't happen unless your name's Jeff Saturday. You know what I mean? And so
Well, after yesterday, shit,
but
he might be without a job.
right. But and so I think Deion basically found a school that was willing to let him become a head coach off the street with no experience. And then to EJ's point, he probably parlayed his experience as a Super Bowl winning Hall of Fame NFL player to make them give him carte blanche to do what he wants to do as a coach. To EJ's point, HBCU coaches don't normally have that kind of power, you know, and he starts, turning things around, and then he uses that to parlay into the next gig, right? But it's just for me, the thing has been from the beginning of how he presented himself, making it seem like he's the guy who's doing it for the culture, et cetera, et cetera. And then as soon as the money came calling, he bounced. And I think that, you know, regardless of what he does in the future, that thing is going to be a stain on him. People,
Oh
not
yeah.
maybe not necessarily black people in general, but people who are especially tied to the HBCU community, they're going to remember that shit. You know what I mean? And I think it's going to be part of the legacy.
It will. But and the last thing I'll say on it is, in addition to all that's been said, the last piece is he's, obviously he's going to take his son with him, and probably both, and as a father, right? There's probably a better path to the NFL through Colorado than Jackson State. So, especially as a quarterback. So, um, that's the last piece to me, that if you take all the rest of the equation out, take the parentheses, PEMDAS, take parentheses out,
Exponents.
exponents, do your multiplication, your vision, addition, subtract everything out. You got him being a father. And the last piece of the equation, he's going to make sure that he does what's best for his sons. And I respect him as a man for that.
Well, I think that's already been accomplished by him regardless. 2 sons in college athletics on a national scale playing, he's already arrived, right? I think the thing he's also going to have to contend with now, he's 0-2 in the Celebration Bowl.
Yeah.
So you're not even the best coach in the HBCUs right now.
Yeah.
And you about to go to the Big 12. I
Right.
know he didn't want to go out with a loss on his jacket like that. So,
But he's Dion. You know what I'm saying? End of the day, he's
question.
arguably in many people's top 2, not 2 cornerbacks of all time.
Football players of all time.
And even some people athlete of all time, between him and Bo Jackson, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to always have a legacy. And while this might tarnish it slightly, I don't think it does much.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I know you, EJ, you didn't want to get into the sappy stuff too soon, but want to just say rest in peace to
DJ Twitch.
I couldn't remember the DJ name, but DJ Twitch. He was on the Ellen Show. He was actually well known beyond that. Lots of I think him and his wife were working on a show. A number of different opportunities, and there's the mental health side of things that we always talk about, and we end every pod with it, and we tell people, check on your people and make sure everyone's good to go. Really sad. I think he had 3 kids, if I'm not mistaken, and he transitioned himself a few days ago, and it's a challenging world that we live in, man, and there's a lot going on. And while things may seem normal and regular for everyone on any given moment, that can change, man. People got stuff going on in their lives, and I think it's just important. It's really, really important to highlight that life is short, life is precious. The person that you're mad at today may not be here tomorrow. You may not be able to hear their voice. And while it is selfish, and it sounds selfish, then that's going to weigh on you for forever beyond that. But the weight that you feel from that doesn't come from being selfish. It comes from the fact that you should have and could have taken the opportunity to make things right while that person was here. So rest in peace again to DJ Twitch, and that's what I have to say on it. And I know for you guys, this is sensitive to both of you, so I'll give the floor to you guys.
I've talked on this podcast, plenty of times about my own struggles with mental health, and I'm a person that has dealt with that deals with still suicidal thoughts and things like that. So, one, definitely I want to say rest in peace as well, but two, I think what we have to do as a society, and especially in our community, the Black community, is not be afraid to ask people, like, are you okay? You know what I mean? And you, like Steve said, you never know what's going on with somebody underneath the surface. Like, like I feel like people are kind of like ducks, right? And what I mean by that is, like, when you see a duck on the water, they look smooth, just gliding across the top of the water, but underneath their feet are going crazy paddling. You know what I mean? And the point I'm making is that you never know what's happening beneath the surface. So, if you see something with a family member, a friend, whatever, don't be afraid to say, hey, are you okay? And the person may not want to talk to you, and it's all good, but maybe you can just let that person know, if you need to talk to me, or, whatever, I'm here for you, that kind of thing, like that. Because again, you just never know what's going on beneath the surface in someone's head, etc., man. So, definitely rest in peace to him, and, condolences to his friends and family. But yeah, man, we gotta take care of ourselves and help take care of each other.
You guys summed up a lot of what I feel. But I go back to the statistics that I've mentioned in the past, and unfortunately, I'm not prepared to know what the update is now. But for a long time in our American society and culture, African American men were the leaders in suicide and successful suicide. So we've been suffering in silence for a long time. Um, again, to empower one is not to take away from the other, right? But I think, again, as a society, as a culture, Black males have been the people to carry a lot on their shoulders, and depending on your family structure or whatever you may be used to. Like Chris Rock said, all the Black man, all the dad wanted was a piece of chicken, all of that kind of thing.
Big piece of chicken.
The big piece of chicken, and for a lot of people, their dad and their fathers and uncles are their superheroes. But if you can just see them as a human being, as vulnerable as anyone else, and while they may not come out and say they need help or want help, don't be afraid to ask them. So kind of echo what you guys say, and man, check on your Black males, man, because at one point, I don't know what the stats are now, but we were the leaders in successful suicide rate. So
yeah, I saw the God, what's the middle linebacker for Indy yesterday? Shaq, not Shaquille, but Shaq. Damn it,
not Shaq Lawson. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I saw him yesterday, and he's got I think he backs a project, and he had the hoodie on the side that said, it's okay to not be okay. And
Right.
we in the Black community, and I had this conversation with someone the other day. We were talking about, someone posted a video of little African American kids in Chicago that were just really disrespectful. And there was one main kid, and he was telling the teacher, don't touch my hat, I told you, don't fucking touch my hat. And then I'll beat your ass, and all this other shit, right? And then I'm they're like, oh, this is crazy, there's no parenting there, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, people look at this on the surface, and to VP's point, they're not looking beneath, because it could be an autistic child. And we are so, as Black people, we are so in denial to say that there could potentially be a problem with our household, with our families, with our children, that we would rather watch our kids suffer and deal with the mental health, and then they're just bad, that's just a bad kid, and then they turn out to be whatever. They find they find that like the R. Kelly, and trust me, there's no way I'm trying to say that R. Kelly is a good person in any way. I don't want anybody to misunderstand what I'm saying, but they find something or whatever the release is, and they latch onto it, and at times it's violence, and that's how we end up with our young black men out here in these streets in these gangs, and that's who they consider family, because those people don't judge them. They don't judge them for whatever's going on. They don't judge them for the scrambled egg that's in their head. They judge them for what they think is right, and when they do something, they yell, they scream, they act out in class, they act out in school, they embrace it. And that's all kids want, man. They just want to be embraced. They want the warm embrace. And we have to do better as a black society for our children to not be in denial and not think, well, people are going to make fun of me. People are going to, they're going to make jokes and shit like that. Like, listen, your kids come first. You got one job as a parent. You brought them here, you keep them here, you make them safe. And having a denial, putting them in denial, not asking if they're okay, not checking if they're okay, can be catastrophic. And so that's my piece, and that's what we got to do better.
Absolutely, definitely rest in peace, Twitch, for sure.
Yeah, condolences to him and his fams. All right, man. Whatever's next on the list. I know it was early for us to get into something like that, but go Cowboys.
NFL. I mean, since we're talking about one thing about the World Cup, that just a quick point. We talked about it earlier. Just to make note, FIFA pretty much told Ukraine, we're not playing any of your president's messages for peace, which I found pretty interesting. Just something to make note about. Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting. FIFA was like, not here, son.
Yeah, FIFA is just that whole organization is just corrupt as fuck, man.
Yeah, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
But man, he said go Cowboys. He has to go. It's his wife Nikki's birthday, so shout out to the first lady, one of the first ladies of the podcast. Happy birthday, Nick, Cuzzo.
Happy birthday.
And they're gonna be the two old people at brunch today. So that'll be fun. But yeah, man, he said go Cowboys, man. We got some NFL action yesterday, man. And we had some games on early. Starting off with the first one, who's the first game yesterday?
Vikings Colts.
Vikings Colts was the first game. Yes.
Yeah.
Man, Jeff Saturday gets out on the Colts. Gets out on the Vikings. 33-point lead to lose. VP, what do you have on that?
Man, what was crazy was I wasn't watching that game, right? And then I looked at the score when it was halftime, like, damn, it's 33-0. I wasn't watching. I might as well not watch it now because I actually turned the game on at halftime. But, I just wanted some background noise, so I left it on, and then I started hearing the comeback. So now I'm actually watching. And, when the game finished, I said this in the chat. I said it on Twitter. This is the kind of game that would get a coach fired, right? But you look at how Jeff Saturday got that job, and I don't know if that's going to happen. And Steve Smith said this on NFL Network. He said, based on what happened yesterday, Jeff Saturday deserves to be the first interim head coach that gets fired. Like that is ridiculous. That can't happen in the NFL. You're up 33 points at halftime and you lose. You don't score any more points, and not only not score any more points, but you give up 36 points in halftime and overtime. That is insane. And they would have lost in regulation had it not been for the refs who fucked up on 2 defensive scores. So that is insane, man. Insane. The second thing, that's from the coach perspective. And Jeff's he shouldn't be the coach. He shouldn't have ever been the coach. And I agree with Steve Smith. They should just go ahead and let him go and just this shit ain't gonna work out, But on the Vikings side of things, I felt like what happened yesterday is kind of just proof positive of what me and Steve have been saying for weeks is that the Vikings aren't their record. Yeah,
Right.
they're a 10, 11 win team, but they don't look like a 10, 11 win team. The games that they win close. And the games that they lose, they get dominated.
Right.
You know, and that's not how double like you don't like yeah, KC sometimes gotta get a squeaker, but for the most part, they're whooping ass. You know what I mean? So when they lose, they lose. Don't get me wrong, but when they win, they look like a team that you think, yeah, there's a reason that a lot of people got them in the Super Bowl. There's a reason their quarterback's in the MVP race. You know what I mean? And this Minnesota to Philly, same thing. They don't look like an 11 win team. At times they're dominant, but a lot of times it looks like, I don't know, you know. And I
Yeah.
think that's why a lot of people don't look at them like I'm scared. If they're on the schedule, you got to circle that week. Man, we gotta be locked in. They're just not that team.
But the thing about it though, too, at the end of the day, is that we all always have to remember that while a team is bad, it is the NFL still, and it's
Hmm.
always any given Sunday.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that is alluding to kind of some of your point, because teams, even we've seen the Patriots in the past when they were dominant, blow games, and so any given Sunday you line up and you don't know, but I mean, but yeah, the Vikings. Yeah, we know they've been looking suspect all year, but I
Hmm.
mean, in their defense, I mean that they could say, "Hey, we've been getting it done by any means." You know what I mean? And it shows tenacity, it shows moxie. But yesterday was just that was just inexcusable, man. 33-point lead, and then you don't score,
Yeah.
and that was just nasty work. And Jeff Saturday, man, I don't even know where you begin with that. Jonathan Taylor goes down and you just don't run the ball anymore when you're up 33 points. Like what was going on? And I feel bad for Matt Ryan because he wasn't put in a great position to really win that football game after a while.
Hmm.
You're just coming out to throw, you're not getting protection. The Vikings are just creeping up, creeping up, creeping up. And here they go. They take
Yeah.
off on you. So that was nasty work. Um,
And
moving
Matt Ryan, man, you're the quarterback of the losing team that gave up the biggest lead in Super Bowl history, and you're the quarterback that gave up the biggest lead in
NFL
in
history.
regular season NFL history. And again, a lot of people are tying that to Jeff Saturday, and rightfully so. But Matt Ryan's going to be attached to that for those reasons. Matt Ryan's going to be a Jeopardy question. Or how when you watch the college games, like in the third quarter, they do the Aflac question of the day. So
Affleck
he's
trivia question. Yep.
yeah, that's gonna be Matt Ryan in 10 years. He's gonna be an Aflac trivia question.
And the Jeopardy question. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Going to the second game of the day. And I live in Baltimore. Ooh, and I've come to not like Baltimore Ravens fans. I love them, especially one in particular. But uh, man, 13-3 lost to the Browns at home in Cleveland. No Lamar Jackson. Huntley comes in there. Um, telling victory for Cleveland. Deshaun Watson looks good. And this guy, if he had more games and more weapons, I think they would be clear contenders in the North, as a opposite of Cincinnati. But no Lamar Jackson. Huntley comes out there. He did his thing. They just fell short, man. But I think the storyline for me will always remain for the rest of the season as far as the Ravens go. Lamar Jackson, man, sitting out, holding out. That knee, I think, is much worse than what they're letting on.
Hmm.
And even if it is just a sprain of some kind, I don't even know for sure that they said exactly what it is. I mean, you got to be looking at yourself, man. Like this dude, Deshaun Watson, who's in my division, hadn't played 11 games. The Cleveland Browns said, we're all in, gave him $200 million. You can't even get that from your team, your franchise, that without you is pretty much a mediocre football team.
Yeah.
So that's what I got from that loss.
No, I think everything you said is absolutely right. It's embarrassing to not pay the guy who has gotten you all the success that you've had. Granted, yeah, they won a Super Bowl. The Ray Lewis era, the Joe Flacco era. Those eras are done now. Those players are gone. And now you go out and draft a guy in Lamar Jackson, who a lot of people talk about his throwing ability and stuff like that. Oh, he's all running, blah blah blah, and he's proved those guys wrong. And the dude has done nothing but put up numbers for your franchise, put his body at risk, etc. And you won't pay him, and that kind of thing. And I think this is why black people shit on the NFL when you talk about the NFL and race, whether it's head coaching, quarterbacks, etc. It's that you always hear people talk about how in the NFL, it's what have you done for me lately, right? And this dude has done nothing but win for them. He's done nothing but energize the fan base, etc. And when it's time to show him the money, they're tight now. They're pinching pennies, and yeah, and Deshaun Watson is black. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong or whatever, but you're seeing quarterbacks who get these crazy amounts of money. Aaron Rodgers is being paid $50 million a year, and he won one Super Bowl 10 years ago. You know what I mean? And you got the guy who is in his prime, young as hell, and you won't pay him. And that shit, it says something about that franchise specifically, but the NFL generally.
And I've said that before. You're dealing with, when you're talking about Baltimore from a Ravens Orioles perspective, you're dealing with two of, to me, the cheapest owners in pro sports. And it's very telling. The Orioles will never win a World Series in our time because Peter Angelos does not want to pay for premium talent, specifically black premium talent, because the one guy he did pay for was Crush Davis, who we found out was using steroids. Once he got caught, was done. And then the Ravens, the one guy that they paid and was Joe Flacco, and they had to at that point because he was Super Bowl MVP, and they got lucky that he didn't get injured and nothing happened. But Lamar Jackson, in today's quarterback league, again, you had a dude who hadn't played in 11 games, hundreds of days, hadn't even thrown
700 and some days, they said.
700 something days. Yeah, I heard it last night. And they gave him 200 mil.
Yeah. 235 mil.
235 mil. And this dude is fully in your division, fully guaranteed in your division. They won 10 games last year. They haven't won a playoff game in Cleveland in how long? And this dude, Lamar, is taking you to the playoffs every single year without a top tier receiver.
Yeah.
And you can't give him his money. Now he's hurt. And now you're seeing the effects of it. So, I mean, that's going to be a situation to watch going forward. And like I said in the beginning, man, if I'm him, I'm not playing. I just don't see it. I'm not playing. I'm holding out. Trade me or pay me, because you got Huntley in there behind me. You're basically saying you think you can go on without me. Hey, play me or pay me. Pay me or trade me. Pay me or trade me.
And you know what? Looking at the Deshaun Watson situation too, I think puts a different it puts kind of a different spin on this Lamar Jackson situation, right? Because Baltimore seems like they're not going to pay him, and Lamar Jackson had already said if they didn't have a contract done, I forget by what week it was, that he wasn't going to negotiate no more during the season, right? So now the season's over. If they don't get a contract done in the offseason, we already know that Baltimore's going to franchise him. But looking at how Deshaun was able to sit out and come back and still be paid by another team, who's to say Lamar don't do some shit like that? No, I'm not signing that franchise tag. I'll sit out for the year. I'll get healthy, and I'm gonna go somewhere else that's gonna appreciate.
Precisely.
The only thing I would say that would go against Lamar in that scenario that I just set up is the fact that Lamar won't be under contract at that point. You know what I mean? So I'm assuming he should be good given all the money he's made thus far. But you never know what's going on in somebody's pockets or whatever. You know what I mean? But he could potentially do that. Say, fuck it, I'm not signing that franchise tag, and I'll just sit out for the year. and then I'm gonna go somewhere else because this team doesn't respect me. They don't care about me. So fuck it. Who needs a quarterback?
And the only other narrative too that I think is different for Deshaun Watson is that he was respected more as a passer versus Lamar Jackson.
Mhm.
So while you might have franchises that might see Lamar Jackson and clamor for his talents, they may be a whole lot more that will say, well, we don't want to take the risk on him either, even though we know he's been proven to be Action Jackson because 32 teams passed up on him. You know what I'm saying? So that's a risk factor as well, which is unfortunate for him because it shouldn't even be a factor. Arizona, you got to be looking at them right now, but I mean, I don't think they would go that far, being that they just did what they did with Kyler Murray,
Right.
and he got hurt. But yeah, man, I mean, Lamar Jackson, think about your future, buddy.
Yeah.
Figure it out because these dudes don't appreciate you, man.
Or I mean, look at that Vikings team. We keep saying, or at least me and Steve, they're a quarterback away. And you can go there. Let Kirk Cousins have a bridge year next year, and then bring in Lamar. And they've obviously proved they're fine paying their guy because
Yeah.
they paid Kirk Cousins $200 million for basically nothing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, absolutely. Captain Kirk, shout out he's the new Minnesota Miracle Man. He Gordon Bombay is no longer the Minnesota Miracle Man. Kirk Cousins is the Minnesota Miracle Man in the flesh, not fiction.
And one other thing I want to say real quick about the Minnesota game, I don't watch many Vikings games. Like I usually just see highlights and stuff like that. But when I was watching that game, man, when the fans do that skull chant, that shit is.
You don't remember that from back in the day?
No, I remember from back in the day, but I don't watch a lot of the games, so I haven't seen it in a while. So like when they got the camera just like on the audience only, and they're doing, man, that shit. It like I'm not a Viking. I almost want to get involved in that shit. Like skull, like yeah, I can see how that shit gets the crowd like hyped up, yo.
Yeah, I remember when the Purple People Eaters, John Randall and all of them guys, that was a thing, man. I used to love that team. But man, I hate to do this to you, brother, but AFC East battle in Orchard Park, New York, Western New York. The Dolphins, man, they went up there. They were ready. They came out swinging. Mostert ripping off runs left and right. It's looking like, whoa, might be an upset night. And then coaching sets in.
Yeah.
And your Miami Dolphins now 8-6?
8-6.
8-6 fall to the Buffalo Bills, who just secured their place in the playoffs, man. From a Dolphins fans perspective, give it to us, man.
So one, this game, like just looking historically at the Dolphins, it started off making me have those old feelings where it's like, here we go. We get down into the red area, and we're getting field goals instead of touchdowns. But then you go into halftime, it's a one-score game. There's really nothing to see here, and then we come out, score with the 60-some yard pass to Waddle, who, man, that I don't like. Just to talk about that pass real quick, like to see the speed is insane. Like he catches that ball, and then once he throws that bitch in third gear, like I know he's fast, but like these safeties are fast too. You know what I mean? And god damn,
it's a different ball game, man.
Yeah,
different ball game when you got track stars out there.
Oh my goodness, man, that was crazy to watch in real time like that. The way because he jumped to catch it, so it's not like he caught it in stride and you couldn't catch him. Like so he's essentially starting from damn near zero, and it's
so
like
it was underthrown,
huh?
So it was underthrown.
Yeah, it wasn't a great pass. I mean, it was on the money, but he had to jump to get it or whatever versus just running in stride. If he catches in stride, I mean, it wouldn't even have looked as close as it was, and it didn't even look close because of all the speed or whatever. But but to just, I mean, it's like he just went 0 to 60, man. That shit was crazy. Anyway, with that said, this game, man, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, if you think this Dolphins team is these old Dolphins teams, you're just not paying attention. And I'm like, I'm paying attention. And what I see is the way that the Dolphins have always been able to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory that happened last night. When the Dolphins get down in the red zone and they come away with field goals that are touchdown, that happened last night. You know what I mean? Dolphins doing shit to kick themselves in the foot in their own ass. That happened last night. So yeah, this Dolphins team is looking like those old teams, and it's worrying because the thing for me, I don't wake up. I don't start any season thinking like this is the year we're going to the Super Bowl. I think you're unrealistic to think that. Like it's so hard to get to the Super Bowl. There's so many variables, injuries, you know, whatever. You know what I mean? Um, um, but I always say I want to compete, right? And you look at these teams where they kind of ebb and flow, right? You look at a team like a Pittsburgh, you know, they get Big Ben, they have good years, they win 2 Super Bowls, they have years they don't make the playoffs, they got to try to retool at running back, receiver, whatever. But they're kind of always in the mix, you know, save for a season here and there, right? You know, the Packers always in the mix, save for a season here and there. And you can name countless other teams like that. You have teams that have kind of been in the shitter all these years, like Kansas City and the Bengals now, and now they're back in the mix and that kind of thing. The Bucks, you know, the Saints during the Drew Brees era where they came from being the shitty team to they're in the mix. And it seems like with the Dolphins, we just always fucking suck every year. It's like, yo, this year looks promising. Oh nah, we reverted back to our normal selves. Okay, this is just a shit year, so next year we got to rebuild. Oh, it looks promising. Oh no, they tricked us. You know, and that's how this year is starting to feel. That it looked extremely promising, and it should look extremely promising. Looking at the moves that we made in the off season, right? But it seems like we're just reverting to our normal selves, and the shit is infuriating, man. Mike McDaniel, I think that loss last night is 100% on the head coach Mike McDaniel.
Squarely on
100
him.
fucking percent.
Squarely on him. No question. Without a doubt. I was texting you in the chat during the game. And again, you know, we see with these head coaches, we see because McDaniels calls a lot of the offense.
Not a lot of he calls the offense.
Calls offense.
Mm-hmm.
You see these guys that are so smart that they outsmart themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mostert from the beginning of the game, and I am cussing and fussing because I've had this dude all year. He hasn't done anything, but now I got to think. Well, I know part of it was health, but maybe it's play calling. This dude is ripping off 10-yard runs. I mean, his average yard carry, and I let you look it up, but I would say he had to have an average of at least 6.8, at least
7.5 per yard yesterday.
I was gonna say 7.5 because the dude was ripping off 10 yards, then another 7.
Mm-hmm.
And how you had a lead and you don't go back to that to keep Josh Allen off the field is beyond me. They got in the red zone, and instead of punching the ball in, the shotgun, the trick plays, the short plays, the screen plays, the throwbacks. I mean, I'm surprised Tua didn't throw 2 or 3 6 picks yesterday, not because of his play and his ability, but because of what was being called in the situational football. And football is 85 to 90% situational, and it's just some things you don't do. And when the well is hot, you keep drawing from it, you keep pulling from it. It had all the makings up to an upset up until they abandoned the run, and he fell right into the hands of what the Bills wanted them to do.
Right. And you know, two things, right? Like on those plays when they were doing the passes instead of running, my brother, you know, my brother played football like you did. He's like, those were good plays, man. Those, you know, the guys didn't catch it, you know, boo, 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 or whatever. And I'm like, look, I get that those are good plays, right? But remember, and I know obviously you don't remember, we weren't alive then, but remember back before the NFL had the forward pass and it was basically just a run game, right? The other side knew you were going to run it, but they still got to stop it. You know what I mean? Tua could go out of the huddle and say, hey guys, we're going to run a screen to Tyreek. If you can't stop it, you understand what I'm saying? So regardless if it's a running situation and they line up in a run defense, they still have to stop what you're doing. You know, so this whole chess match thing, you know, he was talking about how they started adjusting to the run and playing single high safety, and so they were trying to take advantage of that in the passing game and that kind of thing like that. And it's like, dude, you have the lead, you have the guy. Your running back had 100 yards in the first quarter alone. He averaged 7.5 yards per carry. Feed him that shit. And then when he gets tired, put Gaskin in and then feed it to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, and EJ.
I didn't get it. You started off the game like you said, and it worked. And I mean, if you watched film, if you watched the Bills just played the Jets. This is where our offensive coordinator lost the game. We kept getting down there and not running the ball. Bam Knight is having a phenomenal day. Mike LaFleur somehow, some way decides, oh no, let's not run anymore. You know, and yes, those were nice, good, solid theoretical plays to the talent and personnel you have. Yeah, toss it to Tyreek. He runs so fast. We get but no, keep it simple. And I've been saying this all year, and it never ceases to amaze me how stupid these coaches can be.
And EJ, don't let it be lost on you, just in case that it is, that save for 2 years, Mike McDaniel has spent his entire NFL coaching career under Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, the 49ers head coach, who was the Atlanta Falcons offensive coordinator, who kept calling all those goddamn passing plays in the Super Bowl that allowed for the largest comeback in Super Bowl history. Because you keep throwing incomplete passes, saving the clock, giving Brady all this time, and then he comes back and beats you. Don't let that be lost on you, because it's not fucking lost on me.
Absolutely, man.
Shit is ridiculous. It's second and goal, or let me back up. It's first and goal from the 4-yard line. You run it with Mostert, he gets 1 yard. It's now second and goal from the 3-yard line, pass play, incomplete. Third and goal from the 3-yard line, pass play, incomplete. The dude is averaging 7.5 yards a carry. And if you just go by that logic, right? Let's say he gets 1 yard again. Now the ball's on the 2-yard line. 1 yard again. Now it's on the 1-yard line. Maybe you go for it on 4th. He gets 1 more yard. You know what I mean? Like, come on, dude. Like, this shit is not rocket science. I get, like, sometimes you got to be strategic. It's chess, not checkers, all that kind of shit like that. But sometimes, you know, you need your guy to get a yard or two, line up in the fucking power formation and run that shit. Even if they know you're running it, they still have to stop it. When the Bills lined up for that quarterback sneak that Allen did, that the one that got reviewed during the commercial break or whatever, we knew they was running it. We had to try to stop it. We thought we stopped it, and then they reviewed it. Turns out we didn't. But you know what I mean? It's not like they were like, oh shit. Then they know we're gonna sneak it. We got to do a different play. They know, guys.
No, I mean 100%. And like I said, even if you go to the analytics, because everything's analytical now, the Bills defense haven't been able to stop the run all year. And just the game before that they just had nationally televised, they couldn't stop the run. And you guys come out killing them in the run. I couldn't believe it. But you know, in all fairness, I mean, because I like to watch, you know, even though I'm AFC East guy, I watch football first objectively to some degree. You know, the fandom is there, but I also hate to see dumb shit being done coaching wise. I needed y'all to lose for my team to prosper, but man, that was just nasty. It was nasty.
And two more things I want to say on this real quick. One, I'll say the second thing first. You know, the Dolphins still control their own destiny. You know, even if they lose next week to Green Bay, they can still make the playoffs as long as they beat the Jets and the Patriots in the last 2 weeks of the season. So even if they lose next week at home against Green Bay, if they win those final 2 games, they make the playoffs. That's just the way the math works out based on win losses around the league, et cetera, right? But I feel like we've been in this situation with the Dolphins control. All they got to do is bloop, 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 and then we lose, you know. The second thing I want to say, and this is a point that you make all the time, and I don't want to use this as an excuse, but the officiating in that Dolphins game was terrible. The officiating in that Vikings game was terrible. The NFL has to get on top of this shit. I get it that officiating is not going to be perfect in any league, right? But we're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry in the NFL that's tied to other multi-billion-dollar industries when you talk about sports betting, fantasy football, sports radio and TV, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you can't have officiating this bad. Are there going to be some missed calls? Sure. Are there going to be some blown calls? Sure. But this shit is ridiculous. The way that these refs are fucking up and deciding these games. And the NFL has to get on top. I don't know if it's getting rid of some of these old men who are trying to run up and down the sideline with these guys with speed like Waddle, like we talked about, and stuff like that. I don't know if it takes getting younger or what, but they need to really sit down and have a review of officiating done and try to clean this shit up because it's ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah, and like Steve was alluding to pre-production, you gotta wonder, and people will say it sounds far-fetched and it sounds crazy, but we've seen it with Donahue in the NBA, the betting, the Vegas shit going back to the 1900s, where Rothstein had to fix it. Me and Steve were talking about that. So yeah, it's nasty, man. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man, because you got Green Bay. If you lose to Green Bay, we've beaten Green Bay, and then you had the Patriots that we both have to hope that they lose today, because if they don't, well, you guys have the tiebreaker over them, I think.
Yeah,
but it's still getting into murky waters because you still got to play both them and us.
Right, but again, for us, regardless of what Patriots and Jets do today, and even if we lose to Green Bay next week and you guys win your matchups next week, just because of win-losses in division and the AFC overall, as long as Miami wins against the Jets and the Patriots to close out the season, they make the playoffs. Just because of
and that's what I was alluding to.
It's too tight.
That's what I was alluded to. Those are two games at the end of the year that you don't want to have to depend on having to win, being in this division. Yesterday was the game. That was the game.
Exactly.
That was the game that changes it from now you're 8-6. That makes you 9-5. You beat Buffalo, who then may not have clinched. They become 8-3, I think, if they lost yesterday. I don't know for sure. I can't remember what their record is, but either way,
yes, if they lost yesterday, they would be 10-4.
10-4. Okay. So, I mean, that was a game for y'all to have had to catapult you in the rankings to be comfortable going down the stretch. I think y'all can beat Green Bay. Is it going to be in Green Bay or is it going to be in Miami?
Miami.
Yeah, I think y'all can get that game because unless Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay have figured it out and made a turnaround, which we'll see this Monday, even though they don't really have a real test. Yeah, I mean, those last two games are brutal, man. You win these two back-to-back games, you go into New England, you beat New England, which should be very attainable for you guys because you've always had their number. And we'll see what happens with them today. But that final game versus us, those are always those games that you just never know. So
yeah. And last thing on this real quick, EJ, and to Dolphins fans, if any of them listen to all this, I want to see them again. Like, miss me with that bullshit. We saw them yesterday. We should have won. You know what I mean? Like, ain't no moral victories. You know what I mean? Fuck. McDaniel fucked us yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. Cowboys are playing tonight. Don't know who exactly.
I got the schedule here. Cowboys tonight. They are playing against the. Actually, they don't got the night game. The night game is Giants Commanders. Cowboys got a. They got a 1:00 kick. They're playing at Jacksonville.
Okay. They should. They struggled with Houston a little bit last week, but they should beat up on Jacksonville. I hope they beat up on Jacksonville because if my Jets do win today, We have a short week to play Jacksonville. So I mean, I literally hope the Cowboys beat up on Jacksonville. Yeah, but the rest of the week should be interesting. A few more weeks coming down the pike for the game for the league. So today will be interesting. We'll see how things shake out.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to kind of wind us down here because we started early, and let's get us up out of here. For the sake of getting us up out of here. Man. Just some quick things. Will Smith Emancipation trailer is out. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I haven't seen it all. I'm gonna go check it out, but I think it's actually streaming on Apple TV.
Right.
So aside from the slap, it's still Will Smith. Go check it out. Why not?
And it's based off a true story. So regardless of what you think about Will Smith, especially these days, like we seem to be a people who don't care to read. We learn things through watching TV, watching movies, etc. So, obviously this is gonna be, it's based off a true story, so it's not gonna be beat for beat exactly what happened. But you want to get a general sense of this particular story that does have some it does have like some profile, I guess I should say, and talking about slavery and the Jim Crow era, etc. This is one of those stories, so definitely check it out, man. I definitely will.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to fire it up. I'm gonna go on my quick comic rant. DC Comics, Warner Brothers Studio. I'm sick of you. I am done with you. They're just ruining things. They're giving James Gunn too much autonomy. A lot of the Snyderverse people are out, and I don't like it. So good luck to you guys.
Huh? I think I know what this is about. This is about Henry Cavill, I think that's how you say his name.
Henry Cavill being out as Superman after coming back. You're just not giving people what they want, and again, geniuses doing stupid things. So what can I say? Have you watched anything else new far as bingeables? Anything new that we haven't discussed? Because I want to talk White Lotus, but I want to know if you saw anything new.
Yeah. So for me, Black Adam is on HBO, so I tried to watch it. I actually fell asleep on it. I started it like after the Dolphins game, and I fell asleep pretty early, and then I woke back up, and I was like an hour and 20 minutes in, and then I was let me just turn the shit off. I have to try another day. So I started Black Adam. The thing I didn't realize, because I'm not into comics in that way, I didn't realize that Black Adam was connected to Shazam. I guess I should have assumed that when I saw the little lightning bolt thing on the uniform or whatever. But yeah, so I have to try to recheck that again. The other thing I watched is the Harry and Meghan documentary series on Netflix.
Which is getting a lot of flack.
Yeah, a lot of flack. Yeah, I mean, you know me. I'm into the royal family and that kind of shit like that. So of course, I was gonna watch it. But it was very interesting, man. Like getting their take on, what was going on and things like that. And I learned a lot of things about them and her, specifically that I didn't know. And thinking about the DJ Twitch thing and how you don't know what's going on with people, et cetera, et cetera. I remember reports at the time talking about how she was struggling and but watching the thing, they're talking to Harry, they're talking to her, they're talking to her mom, and she was talking to her mom about committing suicide, and they wouldn't let her get help because it would look bad for the royal family, and on and on. And you know what I mean? And so it was, it was crazy. Just watching it, they gave a lot of her backstory, which I didn't know, even though I follow the royal family. So I didn't know a lot of those things about her childhood and all that kind of thing like that. So it was very, very interesting. And then the shit, you get to the final episode, it takes a Tyler Perry twist that I didn't even know about. So that was also very interesting. So but other than that, the normal stuff, and then that Meghan and Harry docu series.
I haven't watched. Well, I started with my kids, National Treasure, which is a Disney Plus series based on the Nick Cage movies.
Oh, okay.
It's starting off pretty slow already, but but we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah,
And then there's a show on Netflix called The Recruit,
I
which
saw that.
seems. I mean, I watched the
I didn't
first
watch it, but
episode.
I saw it on there.
I watched. I'm almost through the first episode. It might capture me, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, man, I got put on to White Lotus.
Is that real quick? That Recruit thing, is that kind of, because I think there was a movie called The Recruit
Yeah,
with Pacino.
Colin
Is that kind
Farrell,
of Colin Farrell? Yeah.
Pacino. I
Is
don't.
that kind of the same thing, but just a TV series?
I don't know that it's connected because
Okay.
I don't remember. I don't remember if the Recruit movie was a book by Clancy or one of those guys, but it seems to be different. Well, actually, I know it's different because in the movie, you know, Colin Farrell was a agent. Well, he was training to be an agent and all of that kind of stuff. This guy is seemingly totally different angle.
Okay.
So that kind of threw me off as well. I don't know why they do those things. Like like I don't know why, but
Yeah.
you know, title it the same. But
Right.
yeah, the first episode was pretty interesting. So you know, I'm gonna continue on with it. But man, I got put on to White Lotus by my lady, and I didn't see the first season, but VP, I finally caught the finale, and what in the fuck?
Yeah. Agreed.
Like,
Agreed.
what in the fuck?
I don't understand what the hell they were thinking with that. Like, if you wanted to kill off Stifler's mom, you know, like there were better ways. I mean, I get that she's kind of ditzy, but who the fuck would make that jump? And here's the thing, right? I was talking to my wife about this shit. She was on the yacht, right? And so like usually like boats that big, you can't pull into a port. You got to take a smaller boat out to it or whatever, right? So she theoretically took a smaller boat to get onto the yacht, and then when they arrived to wherever they had took her, when they went away from
She
the White
knows how
Lotus,
to get up. She knows how to
how to
get
get
off the
on and
boat.
off. She knows how to get on and
Yes.
off. Is the point I'm making. But now
Yes.
you need to get off, and instead of saying, "Let me get off the way I've been doing it, get on this boat and get the fuck out of Dodge," you try to jump off the side of the boat onto another boat in water that's moving up and down in hills.
Even in a human nature standpoint, it's unrealistic because the first thing people will do in that instance of being scared to make that jump is find an alternative way. So
Right.
instinctively, she would have known, hey, let me go run downstairs. If nothing else, why not even run downstairs to
Right.
another smaller level? You went from the highest point after everything you just went through. I mean, and you could say the shock and everything, but fear overtakes that, and that was even more reason why I said there's no way she would have done that. And it just
That's
like it was just
insane.
stupid.
Insane, man. I didn't like the way that storyline ended. I thought that they made the boy, Albie, Christopher
Albie.
Moltisanti's son. I thought they made him way too gullible. Like even he says it at breakfast, like, you know, you can't go through life being this easy of a mark. The dad, Christopher Moltisanti tells him, and the dude is like, "Come on, Dad, 50K is nothing for you," you know. And it's like, dude, if you can't see this shit come, like I don't know if you caught this or not, right? But remember the guy who was chasing her? I think his name
Yeah,
was like Alessio or something like that.
yeah.
You know who that is, right?
Say it again.
You know who he is, that guy?
I mean, he worked at a hotel or something at the end.
Right. At
Yeah,
the end, you
yeah,
see them pass him in the hotel. But
yeah,
that's not the
yeah,
first time you see him. The first time you see him is in episode 1 when the two girls are watching the boat because they don't know who the guy is they're supposed to meet. And they're watching the path. Remember, they're like talking shit, like, "Oh, I hope it's not the old man. Oh, maybe it's her." Maybe, you know,
yeah. Right.
before they know it's Christopher, right? He's the dude that's standing with them. He's with them the whole time. So they like, unless you just weren't paying attention to that scene, you kind of thought maybe it was a throwaway scene to just introduce you to the escorts or whatever. But he's with them that time or whatever. And then they try to play it like, oh, he's some kind of pimp that's coming after her, so he got to pay her off or whatever. So that shit wasn't even a surprise for me. But to make a character that gullible, it's like, dude, come on now. Like
And
this is ridiculous.
and then the angle with the manager you spent so much time on that for it to just end and just be what it was. The piano player comes back, and for me, I think the setup of this show, how the first season was 95% different than the second season, with the only connection being Stifler's mom,
Right.
and the whole resort theme. So now you've made this season is almost if the next season is definitely going to be connected, or it just was like, honestly, it was just like a episode. It was a show of nothingness to me. Like, okay, they were hustling the whole time. She felt kind of bad, and then Chris to, and his name is not Chris in the show, but we will forever call him Chris Moltisanti. But for Michael Imperioli's character to have just dropped $50K just so he could talk to his mom for him, and then he was like, oh, I already did, and and then you still decided to give up the $50K. It just didn't make any sense. And then even with the Harper, Cameron, and the Asian guy situation, we didn't even get confirmation that
Ethan. That was Ethan.
Ethan.
Ethan. Is his name.
We didn't even get confirmation that Ethan and the wife knocked boots.
Exactly.
Then everything just happens and all is forgiven. It just it was I was captivated by the show to a degree to just see what was going on. And then we didn't even get into the angle about the husband. It was so much unanswered.
Right, about him like potentially trying, because the wife Daphne tells her like how the husbands, they scam people or whatever, and then she was like, he brought you here to ask you for money. So that's so we never get into that. And then, like you said, we never get confirmation if Ethan and Daphne did anything. We don't get any confirmation on if what Harper told him went down in the room when the door was locked. If that's what really happened. You know what I mean? It's like they just left all this shit up to the imagination, and then it ends at the airport with everybody just being happy, like it's all good now. And I feel like nothing was truly resolved. You know what I mean?
Nothing was finalized.
Yeah, like I did not like that finale. Like, the season, I wasn't feeling the season overall, but I kept having hope that because we start with this dead body, that they're leading us to a place. And so it's like, like once you get there, like you watch The Sixth Sense, for example, right? The M. Night Shyamalan joint. And the whole movie's happening, and you're like, the fuck is going on? And then you get to the end and find out he's dead, and it makes the whole movie worth it. The whole thing makes sense now. You know what I'm saying? And I was thinking it was gonna be that way with this show, where okay, some of these episodes are kind of meh, but once we get to the end and find out who died and why they died, since they showed us the dead body up front, it's gonna tie everything up, and it's gonna be like, oh wow, didn't see that coming. And that's not what happened. I mean, I definitely didn't see it coming, but it wasn't in an oh wow kind of way. It was kind of in a like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It definitely, HBO does it again, and we know HBO, didn't write the script per se, but
Mike White.
HBO finds a way to piss us off again.
Yeah. I just that finale, the season in itself, but the finale especially was extremely underwhelming. And we don't, like, Greg hatches this plot and then he disappears. So
what was the whole point? Like, what was the point? And then the picture, it just, and then it was like, okay, why didn't she tell her assistant about the dude? It was bad all the way around.
And then you think about this too, right? I was talking to my wife about this as well. The Jennifer Coolidge character, Stifler's mom,
yeah,
she is rich, right? Because we know in the first season she's rich, but they don't ever tell us an amount. In the second season, they finally tell us she's worth like $500 million, right? You mean to tell me a person who's worth $500 million travels the world with just her assistant, no security? You know what I mean? A person who's worth $500 million has suspicion that something is going on and can't make a phone call from anywhere on this planet to say, hey, send somebody to come get me. I ain't getting on that fucking boat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
this shit is unrealistic.
Ridiculous.
It's unrealistic.
Purely ridiculous. $500 million just out there in Sicily with her wits and her dumbass assistant.
Right.
I mean,
Like,
yeah.
and even if you think like, oh, I'm going to this hotel where rich people stay, boop, boop, or whatever. Okay, that's fine. You meet these other guys who you think are rich, you go with them. But once you get there and shit starts seeming funny, how easy would it have been for her to get on the call and call somebody? Yo, yeah, I gotta. Let me ping you my. Because they were all using iPhones. So let me send you my. Let me drop you a pin. Show you where I'm at. Send somebody here to get me. They need to be armed. Sums up.
No way,
And
no way, no way, no way you have for Billy, like you said, no way you have for Billy and no security team. No way.
right.
No way.
The
No
shit,
way.
it's crazy, man. Like even for that, they could have just kept on with the theme of that she's really rich, and I'd be like, okay, maybe she is. I got an assistant and a personal chef rich, but she's not like private plane, got a yacht rich. You know what I'm saying? And I would have thought, okay, maybe it's fine. She don't got security. The other rich people didn't have security, so whatever. But you telling me she's half a bill? Like, nah, dog. No fucking way, dog.
None. Horribly done on the White Lotus. Totally
Yeah,
disappointing for my
definitely.
first time watching it. So yeah.
Well, this like you said, and like we've said, the seasons aren't connected except for the Stifler's mom character and the hotel name White Lotus.
Yeah, but
So
it
if
it,
you go
it
back
it
and
makes me
watch,
now want to watch the first
yeah,
season though.
if you watch season one, I promise you it won't be that way. The characters um are better developed. Like the issues that they have going on are more sussed out. You get closure in the issues. You know what I mean? And a lot of funny shit happens in it too. So
Yeah, and Kelly's in it, but I mean, I wanted to watch it, especially going into season 2 blind, but after season 2, it makes me not want to invest in it. It really
yeah,
doesn't, and that's the sad part. I might catch it, but I'm not in a rush to do it.
yeah,
You know, but yeah, all right. I'm not gonna. No, I don't think it's too much in politics that we need to go on in right now. We're pushing the 2 hour mark, and it's about that time to start getting geared up for football. I mean, your team played, but mine is playing at 1, and Zach Wilson in that quarterback controversy. I'm not even gonna get into it. I'm just gonna close my eyes and take a shot. But yeah, man, good stuff today. Again, happy birthday to Nikki. Y'all enjoy yourselves being the old people at brunch right now. Because he said they're going to a young hip spot. And them grades is beaming, boy. So enjoy yourselves out there. And on that note, man, VP, man, if all hearts and minds are clear, man, take us out.
yes, sir. Real quick, before I take us out, I also want to wish a happy birthday to my homegirl from work. She is a supporter of the pod. She listens. She texted me and told me she was listening this morning. So kudos to her on that. But her birthday was Friday, so I want to wish her a happy birthday. Um, man, we talked about it a little bit with the DJ Twitch situation. Make that phone call, send that text message, reach out to somebody. Let them know that you're thinking about them, that they're on your heart. Don't be afraid to ask somebody, "Are you okay?" You never know what's happening with someone, that what's happening in their life, etc. So definitely do that. Don't put it off until tomorrow. Tomorrow's promised to none of us. So definitely do that if you're thinking about it. If you're holding on to some kind of grudge, whatever, let that shit go. It's done. Let it go. Um, but with that said, man, we definitely appreciate you guys for rocking with us on this episode of the Castworthy Podcast. For those who listen live, which looking at the stream, it wasn't many of you. We probably caught you off guard by starting on time. So, but but we definitely appreciate you guys taking that time out. For the folks who will listen once the episode posts, we definitely appreciate you guys taking that time as well. You can find this podcast on all podcasting platforms by just searching Castworthy. You could also hit us up on any of our social media by searching at Castworthy. On Instagram, however, it is at Castworthy_podcast. While you're there, leave us a comment, drop us a like, share, subscribe, follow, tell a friend to tell a friend, help us with growing the audience. We definitely would appreciate it. And it'll let those algorithms know that you're enjoying content like this, and it will help us out with growing the channel. And again, man, just be kind to each other, be safe out there. If you're somewhere where it's cold, bundle up. Hopefully you enjoy this weekend going into capping off the holiday season. And I wish you guys nothing but the best. And we will see you on the next episode of the Cast Worthy Podcast. We're out. We love you. Peace.